Fortress Earth Dreamland is my original work and cannot be modified or messed with. It is licensed by Creative Commons, so you can download it and share it, use it for anything you want to, but don't do it for your own profit. Thanks. Fortress Earth Dreamland by Travis Hightower. Chapter 1 Out of the Blue, Part 3.
Negative, it's not a storm,
said the perplexed surveillance officer.
I've got all the filters at maximum. Short of completely blanking the area of radar coverage, I can't get rid of it.
The clutter cloud of randomly jumping dots was now drifting within 15 miles of the airspace. The concern now was that the glitch might interfere with the ability of the controllers to keep awareness on the fight. The radar operator and technicians were tweaking the radar every way they knew how without using a complete restart of the systems. A thought occurred to Jeff.
SD, maybe we could check if Eglin Mission or Darkstar sees anything similar,
he stated over the weapon's internal comm line.
Alright, we'll try, but I'm not sure what good that will do,
replied Captain Hicks. Moments later, they had confirmed that both the other AWACS in the vicinity and the controllers on the ground had noticed the same clutter disturbance. Not only that, but Eglin Mission was able to confirm several unknown clutter disturbances around the nation. Some were interfering with commercial routes, but most disturbances seemed to be occurring in the upper atmosphere.
It could be some type of weird cosmic disturbance,
the senior director mused to the rest of the crew.
Like a solar flare?
Don't know,
answered the mission crew commander, scratching the back of his head and running his fingers through his graying hair.
But a solar flare would mess with our communications, wouldn't it? Not our radar.
The female surveillance officer spoke up.
That's right, sir. Our radar would burn through anything like that.
SD copies,
acknowledged Captain Hicks.
Maybe we can get some intel from Cornerstone over SATCOM. I'll see what I can find out.
This was getting interesting, thought Jeff. SATCOM was military speak for satellite communications. It came in handy when the crew needed to talk to command centers beyond normal radio range. Cornerstone was the name for the command center at Tinker Air Force Base in Oklahoma City, home for all AWACS. Cornerstone had information on all military activity going on at any given time, but they were also a good source of information for weather or other factors affecting flight. Jeff found it odd that with all the combined flight experience of the crew, no one had ever seen anything like this. This was something rare indeed.
Front, this is the SD. Let your fighters know what's going on and tell them if it becomes a factor. We might go autonomous.
Front,
acknowledged Jeff for both himself and his partner controller, Lieutenant Jake Riley, who sat to his right talking to the Marine pilots. Jeff had gotten to know Riley pretty well already. Like many officers in the Air Force, Riley had been a prior enlisted serviceman who had chosen to go to officer training school to earn his commission. The man had youthful features for someone Jeff knew was in his mid-30s, and Riley's blonde hair and blue eyes gave him a very Scandinavian appearance. The third seat on the front row of consoles was currently empty and could be used as a spare if needed. Jeff let his pilots know of the strange problem and that they might find themselves on their own in the next fight if the phenomenon drifted over the practice area. Terrific, said Duke to himself. We simply couldn't have everything go right today, could we? Shaking his head, he followed his flight lead through the turn to the south as they re-established their combat air patrol. Leave it to some glitch in the AWACS, too. Duke's thoughts were interrupted as he looked out above him to the southeast. He keyed his internal flight comm button.
Otter, do you see what I'm seeing? 10 o'clock high.
Yeah, that's the damnedest thing I ever saw,
Major Fuller replied.
You ever heard of the old World War II Foo Fighters?
Yeah,
said Duke absent-mindedly. He stared at the phenomenon now.
But Foo Fighters were never like those big ones. What are they?
Duke was looking at what had to be at least 100 or 200 tiny black dots darting back and forth across the sky. Strange yellow-green flashes of light danced back and forth between the raging swirl of unidentified objects. This odd sort of aerial ballet was focused around 4 gigantic objects. The objects were so large, Duke thought they must be an optical illusion. Even 10 miles away, the dull blood-red behemoths filled his heads-up display completely. The main body of the giants looked something like a curved, spiny turtle shell, with the sides flaring out to form gently curved wings, giving them an almost dragon-like appearance. Every now and again, some of the dots would flare bright red and orange. Duke estimated the activity to be a few thousand feet above them, but it was getting closer, and fast.
"Better call this in,"
said Major Fuller.
"I think we've found Chalice's disturbance."
What? Thought Jeff, who could not believe what he had just heard. Was this some kind of joke? Reports of the strange atmospheric UFO displays were now being reported all around the nation, and not just by the usual trailer park resident with a cell phone, but on official FAA and military channels. As inconceivable as this was, there was no doubt it was real.
Say again, Crow One. Confirm you have spotted over 100 identified flying objects?
There was a short pause, and then the F-15 flight lead replied.
Affirm, Chalice. We are seeing multiple UFOs at about 10 miles now. There are 2 types of smaller, just call them spacecraft, and 3 much larger ones. We're seeing quite a light show over here, Chalice. It looks like a dogfight to me.
SD, are you hearing this?
Asked Jeff.
SD copies all,
Answered Hicks, a bit of a bemused chuckle still in his voice.
So much for the old weather balloon explanation this time, huh?
He added dryly.
Weapons have all fighters come up on the blue air frequency and knock off the fight. These things are for sure a safety problem for the fight now. I'll contact Eglin Mission and prepare to send them home.
There was a short pause of static before Captain Hicks added an afterthought, his tone sounding like a man trying to give directions to lost tourists, when he himself didn't really know the way.
And have the fighters keep us updated on the situation. I'm also going to go on SATCOM and let Command know what's going on. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to say to them, though. This is just nuts. How copy?
Jeff acknowledged for his partner and himself, while the back rows also acknowledged they had heard the plan. Then the senior director asked the radio operator to set up the radio so that everyone could listen to SATCOM. In a few seconds, the job was done. In the meantime, Jeff focused his attention on his fighters.
Crow One, Chalice, copy the craft are fighting. Can you describe them?
The flight lead's answer sounded distracted.
Yeah, Chalice, stand by. And we're going to start working our clearance now. There are several very close now. Jesus, they're fast. Crew 3-4, close it up. Let's descend to 15,000. I don't want to get caught up in this. Christ, that's incredible.
Jeff interrupted in a calm voice.
Crow One, expect Vega 2-1 up this freak shortly.
Vega was the aircraft call sign for the Marine fighters. Lieutenant Riley was telling his F-18s the same.
You are clear to work your own clearance,
Continued Jeff.
Chalice is working on SATCOM now to relay your report.
Once the fighters had their clearance, Eglin Mission would take over and they would be cleared to leave the airspace and go home. Until then, Jeff wanted as much information as possible.
Crow One, Chalice will continue to monitor this freak. Please describe everything as best you can.
The reply was full of static and broken.
Copy. Vega 2-1 is up with us. 2 types of craft. One dark and triangular like an arrowhead. Others are dark reddish, curvy, kind of a stingray or floppy spade look. Something else very big. Let's see. We're in the... Oh.
Jeff heard the Marines check in and begin interacting with the F-15s.
This is Vega 2-1 up with you, Crow. You believe this? Whoa!
That one bought it. What? No! Oh my god! Everyone had better debt! Ah!
The last sound from Vega 2-1 was a scream that was cut off short. The F-15 flight lead spoke up again. The voice was at the quick pace of a fighter pilot who had switched his intent into full battle mode. He was breathing hard against tremendous G-forces.
Chalice, Crew 1, Vega 2-1 and 2 were just no shoot, exploding, crew, defensive, crew 3, watch your shit!
The flight lead's voice became a bit more frantic.
Chalice, get us some help! We can't fight back!
Jeff wasted no time. 2 years of training kicked in automatically. He had just never expected to use it so close to home. He sent a transmission to Eglin Mission, demanding they scramble armed fighters, explaining that Air Force fighters were under attack. To Jeff's frustration, the board traffic controller on the ground at Eglin responded slowly, rudely asking for our authentication to such an unheard-of request. Captain Hicks stepped in and dealt with Eglin, telling Jeff to concentrate on the fighters. Jeff tried giving threat warnings to his fighters as best he could, but the unidentified craft leapt wildly on his screen far too fast for the aging AWACS computer to keep up with their movements. It was an impossible task. His frustration gave way to wonder as he noticed that 3 clusters of dots were moving slower. Each was about 1.5 miles across. Might these be the something big that Crow 1 had referred to? As Jeff considered this, something else made the hair on the back of his neck stand on end. Some of the rapidly jumping dots were making their way towards the E3 itself. Jeff activated his internal radio.
SD-3, better have the flight deck. Get us out of here quick.
I'm Travis Hightower, and I hope you've enjoyed the completion of the first chapter of Fortress Earth Dreamland. Big thank you to all the artists contributing artwork once again to this project. In particular for this installment, Falchi Barta and Adam Byrne. Huge fan of Lindsay Sterling and really glad to have her music as part of the soundtrack for this project. Make sure you check out all of her locations online, her YouTube channel, her website, and make sure you purchase her music on iTunes. New to this installment for soundtrack is Cell Dweller. I appreciate the licensing of his music so that other artists can use it in their projects like this one. Make sure you like and comment so that these audio-visual installments keep getting better. Subscribe so you don't miss the exciting Fortress Earth action coming soon.